Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. 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 Gaur Vimanande, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jarmishpad Paramahansa Parivrajkacharya Sota Sachi Shrimad His Loving Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Srila Prabhupada ki Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. The lotus feet or spiritual master are the only ways by which one can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with profound reverence. His grace ignorance is destroyed. The mercy of Krishna, by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desire. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him aesthetic Brahma emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and Lord and master of all devotees. O Master, minister unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over three worlds. Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare गृहे थाको वाने थाको सदा हरि बोले डाको गृहे थाको वाने थाको सदा हरि बोले डाको सुखे दुखे भूलो ना को वदने हरि ना करो रे सुखे दुखे भूलो ना को वदने हरि नाम करो रे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गृहे थाको वाने थाको सदा हरि बोले डाको गृहे थाको वाने थाको सुखे दुखे भूलो ना को वदने हरि ना करो रे सुखे दुखे भूलो ना को गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा माया जाले बात होइए आचो मीछे काच लोइए माया जा एखोन चेतन पे राधा माधवना बोलो रे एखोन चेतन पे राधा माधवना बोलो रे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे हरे गाय गोरा मधु स्वरे गाय गोरा जीवन होइलो शेष ना भाजिलो ऋषिकेश भक्ति विनोदुपदेश एक बाना रसे मतोरे भक्ति विनोदुपदेश एक बाना रसे मतोरे गाय गोरा मधुस्वरे गाय गोरा गाय गोरा मधुस्वरे गाय हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गाय गौरा मधुस्वरे गाय गौरा मधुस्वरे गाय गौरा मधुस्वरे Hare Krishna. Lord Gaurasundar sings in a very sweet voice, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Whether you are a householder or a sannyasi, constantly chant Hari Hari. Do not forget this chanting, whether you are in a happy condition or a distressful one. Just fill your lips with the Hari Naam. You are bound up in the network of Maya and are forced to toil fruitlessly. Now you have obtained full consciousness in the human form of life, so chant the names of Radha Madhav. Your life may end at any moment, and you have not served the Lord of the senses. Rishikesha, take this advice of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, just once relish the nectar of the holy name. Om Ajnantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Reading from Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya Leela, chapter 9, starting from text 246. Text 246. नर्तक गोपाल देखे परम मोहने, माधवाचार्य स्वप्न दिया ऐला तानरा स्थाने. While at the Udupi monastery, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Nartaka Gopal, the dancing Gopal, a most beautiful deity. This deity appeared to Madhvacharya in a dream. गोपी चंदन तले आछिले डिंगाते, माधवाचार्य सेई कृष्ण पाइला कोना मते. Translation: Madhvacharya had somehow or other acquired the deity of Krishna from a heap of gopi chandana that had been transported in a boat. So this two verses are describing the beautiful deity of Udupi and the Dham, Udupi, which lies on the west coast of India at the Arabian Sea and in the South Indian state of Karnataka. And this is, since time immemorial, supposed to be a very, very holy place, even before Madhvacharya appeared there. And the presiding deities of that holy place, Udupi, was two deities, Sri Ananteshwara and Sri Chandra Mauleshwara. These two deities are still present in Udupi, which were the original deities that were worshipped. And our Acharya, Madhvacharya, who we belong to, we are coming from the lineage of Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are actually coming in the lineage of Madhvacharya. So Madhvacharya is one of our acharyas, and he was the acharya who was present in this holy land of Udupi, and from many, many years he was praying for a deity of Krishna whom he can worship personally. So that's why it is said here that he was always dreaming that someday I will get a deity of Krishna whom I can worship. And Udupi is a holy place. In fact, everyone in India reveres that place as Vaikuntha. That means a place from where you can, go back to Godhead if you worship with full love and devotion. So it's a very special place. So the word Udupi comes from the Sanskrit word Udupa, which means it is referring to Lord Shiva, who has the half moon on his forehead, who carries the half moon on his head. So that's how this holy land was named Udupi, because of the presence of Chandra Mauleshwara, the temple. So Madhvacharya established the Sri Krishna Mutt, and from there he started preaching the powerful message of Vaishnavism, which is the path that we are all following. So he was such a powerful preacher, but he was always in his heart craving that someday I can establish the Lord in his Sri Krishna form here in Udupi, so that everyone can worship. So one day, that particular day, when he was composing his most wonderful 12 verses, glorification of Lord Krishna, there are these Dwadasha Stotra which he has composed. He was on that particular day composing these verses in his devotion, the glorification of Lord Krishna. And it is said that that particular day he went to the beach, the Arabian Sea beach where Udupi is, and he went there to meditate so that he can write these verses. And just at that moment, there was this very, very rich merchant who had set sail from Dwarka. You know Dwarka, the holy land of Dwarka? And in a ship, you have to, it's called a ballast, so that it can, balance the boat on both sides. Just before leaving Dwarka, his staff, had to put these big, big rocks to balance at one point, in the ship. So they found these two big blocks of Gopi Chandan. In Dwarka there is this Gopi Talav. That is the place where gopis used to go, for a bath, and they used to, wash their feet, and all their dust is collected in that small pond. And the base, at the depth of that pond is fully made up of the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis. So it has become so fragrant that it has formed this Gopi Chandan. The sand has become Gopi Chandan, what we all apply on our foreheads. So that is actually coming from Dwarka, from this particular talav. And these two blocks of Gopi Chandan were there outside, so they just picked it up and put it on the ship. And as they were nearing the Arabian Sea, nearing Udupi, that they were passing from there, there was a big storm. And at that time, Madhvacharya was sitting on the beach, meditating and composing. So he could see that the ship is just about to sink, and they are going on shouting, "Help, help." And Madhvacharya, because he's such a powerful personality, he just took his chadar and just waved in the wind like this. And Madhvacharya is none other than Vayu Dev, who has appeared, and he has the power to control the winds because he is himself the wind god. Immediately the storm just stopped and the wind just became silent, and the ship, could reach the shore. And the merchant was so grateful to Madhvacharya that you have protected and saved all my wealth. So please, I want to serve you in some way. What can I offer you? And Madhvacharya, because he's a pure devotee of the Lord, he did not want the wealth which is there on the ship. He was not attracted to asking him for any, reward for whatever he has done. He just saw these blocks of Gopi Chandan, and because he's such a pure devotee, he just said, I don't want anything but the Gopi Chandan from the... So he asked all his disciples, please pick up that Gopi Chandan and let's take it to Udupi. Let's go towards our mutt. So as those people were carrying, and obviously it was very, very heavy, his disciples were trying to carry it, but on the way, they just broke. And what do you think appeared out of the Gopi Chandan? The Udupi Sri Krishna deity, which is till today worshipped. And it is a beautiful deity in the form of a little boy, little child, holding a stick in his hand and in one hand holding butter. So it's a beautiful form of baby Krishna. And as soon as it fell down, they tried to pick it up again. And lo and behold, they couldn't move it at all. They couldn't even move it an inch. All his disciples together tried to pick it up. Still it did not move. They had to call Madhvacharya. And when Madhvacharya came there and he saw the beautiful deity of Krishna, he understood that my dream, my dream is fulfilled. Krishna has himself come from Dwarka, and he, with so much love, just embraced the deity. And as soon as he embraced the deity, he just could easily lift, because the deity became as light as a feather. And all his way back from the beach, 4 miles, he carried Udupi Krishna, and on his way he finished composing the last 7 verses of this stotra, glorifying Lord Krishna. And he established that Krishna in the Krishna Mat, and till today that deity is being worshipped there by his followers, and he established such a high standard of worship for Udupi Shri Krishna. So we are blessed because both the acharyas, like today we are going to discuss, Madhvacharya established the deity, and today we are going to discuss how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his travels of South India reached this holy place of Udupi for the first time. And we are reading that pastime when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first time came to Udupi and took the darshan of this Gopal deity, this little baby form of the deity. माध्वाचार्य आनीतान रे करीला स्थापना आद्यवादी सेवा करे तत्ववादी गण. Madhvacharya brought this dancing Gopal deity to Udupi and installed him in the temple. To date, the followers of Madhvacharya, known as Tattvavadis, worship this deity. कृष्ण मूर्ति देखी प्रभु महासुख पाइला प्रेमावेशे बहुक्षण नृत्य गीत कैला. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received great pleasure in seeing this beautiful form of Gopal. For a long time he danced and chanted in ecstatic love. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy in front of Udupi Shri Krishna deity, and he was so happy. But seeing him, the Tattvavadis, that means all the followers of Madhvacharya, because Madhvacharya had left by then, obviously he was not present in the world, but his followers were there, and they were looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tattvavadi gana prabhu ke mayavadi jane Prathama darshane prabhu ke na kaila sambhashane. So they were observing Lord Chaitanya from far. When the Tattvavadi Vaishnavas first saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they considered him a Mayavadi sannyasi. Therefore, they did not talk to him. So at first glimpse, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in like sannyasi robes with a danda and everything, and he was taking darshan of Udupi Shri Krishna, all the followers of Madhvacharya were confused, that maybe he is a Mayavadi sannyasi who is, following the Advaita philosophy. And they were like still confused seeing him. And then, Pache prema veshe dekhi hoila chamatkara Vaishnava janane bahuta korila satkara. But they were observing him and seeing him dancing in ecstasy in front of the deities. Later, after seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstatic love, they were struck with wonder. Then, considering him a Vaishnava, they gave him a very nice reception. They immediately welcomed him after seeing him that he is dancing with so much ecstasy, seeing the deity of Lord Krishna, and not only that, he is chanting Hare Krishna and he is chanting the glories of Krishna. At that time they were satisfied. Oh, so he is a Vaishnava, he is a devotee. So immediately they welcomed him and accepted him as a Vaishnava. So you could understand that there are two philosophies, the Vaishnavas and the impersonalists or the Advaita philosophy, and always there is some difference in their philosophies. They are like, it's like two opposite ends. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really presented to the world a very, very wonderful Vaishnava philosophy, and that is Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. So which is like the middle path. So, but at that time there was a very clear demarcation, the Vaishnavas and the Mayavadis or the impersonalists. So here you can see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately connected with everyone just because of his devotion to Krishna. Vaishnavata sabara antare garva jani isat hasiya kichu kahe gauramani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the Tattvavadis were very proud of their Vaishnavism. He therefore smiled and began to speak to them. He could feel in their heart that they are like checking him, out with some kind of apprehension, because they feel that, we are the Vaishnavas. And probably he is, a Mayavadi, or, what kind of a sannyasi he is. But because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya could understand what is in the heart of these devotees. And he could understand that because they were the philosophers of Dvaita philosophy, where they are promoting, the bhakti or the Vaishnava culture, in a very, very powerful way. And Madhvacharya had established that Vaishnava culture in a very, very powerful way in the world by then. So they had this kind of a feeling in their heart that, some kind of pride that we are Vaishnavas. And I think we all have experienced that in our life. Though we are not even Vaishnavas, we are just trying to be Vaishnavas, because the position of becoming a Vaishnava is so high that I don't think any one of us can claim to be a Vaishnava, because a Vaishnava has 26 qualities. And we know what those 26 qualities are. And even one we are not able to practice fully. So, to become a Vaishnava, it is a very, very high, or to call ourselves Vaishnavas. We are just trying to be Vaishnavas. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could understand that there is pride in the hearts of the followers of Madhvacharya at that time, that they were very proud that we are the people who are the Vaishnavas. And everyone should, follow us. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand, but he smiled at their feel. He smiled at that. In the sense, he was very amused at the pride that we have. So we may think that sometimes we become very, very proud and we think very, very great. But the Lord is just amused by that, because we are nothing but infinitesimal. Actually, we are very small. But we start thinking that we are great just because we are following 4 regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds just for few years. So, but the Lord is very amused by that, because we start thinking that we are like the deliverers of the whole world. But Krishna has a way to break our pride, because pride comes before the fall, always. So, Krishna cannot tolerate even one drop of pride in his devotees. So, he will see to it that he will break the pride. And we all have that experience, that he can easily break our pride. So, Tansabara antare garva jani gaura chandra tansaba sange goshti korila arambha. Considering them very proud, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his discussion with them. So, Lord Chaitanya wanted to discuss with them to understand what is their understanding of bhakti, what do they think, what are their views on bhakti. Tattvavadi acharya sab shastre te praveena Tanre Prashna Kaila Prabhu Hanayena Dina. The chief Acharya of the Tattvavadi community was very learned in the revealed scriptures. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu humbly questioned him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he does not actually have to, have a discussion, because he is the source of all the scriptures. He is the person who is the origin of all the Vedas. Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. Lord Krishna says he is the one who is the composer and he is the knower of everything. But still he is setting an example that if you want to get knowledge, you have to ask in a very humble way and ask questions. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is setting an example for us and following the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, that if you want to ever get knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, you have to approach in a humble state of mind. But in what mood? You can understand from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu what is the mood that you should approach. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sadhya sadhana ami najani bhalamate, sadhya sadhana shreshta janaha amate. Sadhya sadhana means the aim of life and how to achieve it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me of the best ideal for humanity and how to attain it. So this is like a question for all of us, isn't it? He does not need to know this, but he is asking this question for our benefit. Shri Ram Lakshman Sita Hanuman Ji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So he does not need to know this, but still he is asking on our behalf. I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me the best ideal for humanity and how to attain it. So this is his showing his humility. We have to ask question in a humble state of mind, not thinking that I know everything. Only a glass which is empty, you can fill water in it, right? So if you want to get knowledge, first you have to empty your heart of all the wrong notions or knowledge or whatever we have accumulated since time immemorial. So if you want to get pure bhakti in your heart, you have to first clear it of all the misconceptions. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us by example, by asking in a humble way. So the Acharya replied, Acharya kahe varnashrama dharma Krishna samarpana ehaya Krishna bhaktera shreshta sadhana. The Acharya replied, when the activities of the 4 castes and the 4 ashramas are dedicated to Krishna, they constitute the best means whereby one can attain the highest goal of life. So, the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, in the Vaishnava tradition, they were very, very particular about the Varnashram Dharma, because that was very sincerely followed since time immemorial. That's part of our Vedic Sanatan Dharma. That is the 4 ashramas and the 4 varnas. But over time, the varna and ashrama system was lost, and gradually, anyway, it is said in the Kali Yuga that Kalau Shudra Sambhava, that all of us are just in the service class and we all are just practicing our, whatever we are supposed to do in our lives, based on the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That was like the goal of varnashram dharma, is somehow fulfill the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, these four demands of every living entity. But they would not go beyond that, or the understanding was that whatever duties of each varna and ashrama, if we just follow that sincerely and just practice, offer everything to Krishna as Krishna Samarpan, as they said, then one can attain the highest goal of life. And that highest goal of life for them was just attaining liberation. Dharma, artha, kama, and then moksha. Just getting free from this cycle of birth and death. That was the only goal. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to really give them that understanding of one step higher, to get more deeper in the path of bhakti. So he wanted to again ask them, okay, so what is the goal of that? By following the varna and ashrama, and what is the ultimate goal? So they answered this: Panchavidha mukti pana vaikunte gamana sadhya shreshta haya ei shastra nirupana. When one dedicates the duties of varna, ashrama, dharma to Krishna, he is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus he is transferred to the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. This is the highest goal of life and the verdict of all revealed scriptures. So their understanding was that ultimately we have to just, get liberated from this material world and go to Vaikuntha, so that we can enjoy the 5 kinds of liberation: Sarupya, Samipya, Salokya, Sarashti. So I don't know the last one, but Sayujya, yeah. So these are the 5 kinds of liberation, and that was like their only goal. To follow the social structure of India of Varna and Ashrama at that time, was the only goal was to get these 5 kinds of liberation. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanted to take them much more deeper, much more higher than that, give them that path of bhakti. So he said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Prabhu kahe, Shastra kahe, Shravana Kirtana, Krishna Prema Seva, Falera Parama Sadhana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, according to the verdict of the Shastras, he also quoted the Shastras. He said, according to the verdict of all the Shastras, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. So, as we chanted in this bhajan, Grihe thako, vane thako, sada hari bole dako, sukhe dukhe bhulo nako, vadane hari naam korore. It's exactly what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying here. Grihe thako, vane thako. Meaning, what is grihe thako? Either you are a grahastha or you are a sannyasi, vane thako. It doesn't matter which varna or ashram you belong to. If you are dedicated in the path of bhakti, or you are focused on hearing and chanting the holy names of Krishna, then you will attain the highest level that you can reach in the path of bhakti. And what is that? Attaining prema, or love for Krishna. That is the highest. So here he wanted to show that pure bhakti is the ultimate goal of our life. And each one of us should strive for that goal. And it doesn't matter whether you are a grahastha or a sannyasi, a brahmachari or a vanaprastha. I mean, these different, or whether you are a brahmana or a kshatriya or a vaishya or a shudra. So all these varna and ashramas doesn't matter, because it is stated in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Sadhya Kabu Noy, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, Koriye Uday. So, I think the shloka says, Kiba Vipra. So this is, this is also another verse in the same line. So basically, both these verses talk about that anyone who is studying the Vedic scriptures or who is following the path of bhakti, who is hearing the chanting and the holy names of the Lord, automatically all the conclusions of the Vedic scriptures are, manifest in their heart, and they are able to progress in their spiritual life. So that is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is because he gave us this path of bhakti, that if we follow in this lineage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Harinam Sankirtan and this path of Shravanam and Kirtanam, what he is emphasizing here, Shravanam and Kirtanam, is the path of attaining love of Krishna. So, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. Iti Pumsar Pita Vishnu, Bhaktis Chain Navalakshana, Kriyeta Bhagavati Adha, Tan Manye Ditam Uttamam. So, this process of the 9 processes begins with Shravanam and Kirtanam. And from the beginning of Bhagavatam, we can see that that is emphasized, that this path of bhakti, this knowledge immediately can cleanse or kick out all the misconceptions that we have in our heart, or the false notions, or the confusions that we have. It can completely destroy all the misgivings that we have in our heart. That is the power of just hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, attentively and regularly. So there is a very powerful shloka in the beginning of Bhagavatam which says, Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayo moolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite Kim Va Parair Ishvara Sadhyo Hridayavaruddhyate Trakritibhi Sushrubhi Statshanat. That Dharma Projita Kaitrava, the Bhagavatam kicks out all the lesser forms of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification and liberation. This is Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. From the beginning it kicks out. That is what the Madhvacharya Tattvavadis, for them that was like the highest. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and the 5 forms of liberation. To attain that was like the only goal. But from the beginning, Srimad Bhagavatam kicks out the lesser forms of this. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Bhagavatam as the Amala Purana, spotless Purana. This is the only Vedic literature which is untainted by any lesser degree of materialistic conceptions. Therefore, it is very pure and the cream of all Vedic literatures. And it is described that Caitanya-caritāmṛta is the postgraduate study of Bhagavatam. So, we can see that from where Bhagavad Gita ends, when Lord Krishna speaks to Arjuna, he speaks about, in the last chapter, 18th chapter, he says this very powerful shloka, 18.66. Anybody? Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. So he's, saying the same thing, which is reiterated in Bhagavatam with this shloka, Dharma Projita. So if one just surrenders to the process of Krishna consciousness, that is by hearing and chanting, one can attain to the path, the ultimate goal of life, which each one of us is aspiring for, and that is prema, or love of Godhead. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions or comments? Yeah. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I have two questions, if it's all right.
Yes.
The first question relates to you speaking about the Gopi Chandan. The dust from the gopis was at that place. Generally I heard that the gopis never leave Vrindavan, but I am aware that the gopis once met the Lord at Kurukshetra. I probably never heard of it because of my ignorance, but can you explain how the gopis went to Dwaraka and when they went to Dwaraka?
I don't know exactly when they went to Dwarka. But definitely the Gopi Talav is there in Dwarka. And I think gopis are anyone who is a pure, unalloyed devotee of Lord Krishna. So because Krishna was in Dwarka, there were gopis there also who had unmotivated love for Krishna. So there were many, many gopis. There were millions and millions of gopis. Unlimited number of gopis. So the gopis are everywhere. And the dust from their lotus feet is so precious. You know that story of Lord Krishna having a headache? Such a beautiful story. And Narad Muni was going on trying to find who is the best devotee of Krishna and who will help to relieve the headache of Krishna. But every devotee that he met, and he told them that your dust will be put on Krishna's head, they all got scared. That we will suffer in hell for eternity if we give the dust of our feet to relieve Krishna's headache. But only the gopis, as soon as they heard that Krishna has got a headache, they did not even think a second, and they started collecting all the dust from the their feet. And they started collecting it and they gave it to Narad Muni immediately, without thinking. And Narad Muni asked them, you're not thinking that you might have to suffer in hell? And they said, if our suffering in the hell for eternity can relieve even 1 second of Lord Krishna's headache, then we are ready to suffer for all of eternity. So that is the power of the dust of the gopis, lotus feet. And that is the most rarest of all, because Krishna himself, that's why, puts this tilak, the Gopi Chandan, on the head. And this is, we are all following till today. We are applying this Gopi Chandan on our foreheads so that we can get even one drop of what the consciousness of the gopis was. So it's...
Thank you. And my second question, Mataji, is when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking to Ramananda Rai, he was asking Ramananda Rai, what is the highest goal of life? And Ramananda Rai gave so many answers. And then at one point he quoted the verse from Lord Brahma, Jnana, I forget the exact Sanskrit, but basically the verse, Lord Brahma says that the hearing and chanting of the holy names is the ultimate goal of life. And thereafter Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, go higher, and then Ramananda Rai explained more. But with the Tattvavadis, Mahaprabhu is like stopping here. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because he just wanted to, establish pure bhakti for them, because they were still stuck at the stage of, practicing bhakti, but only within their social structure and with their social limitations of varna, ashrama. That is also good, doing your duties in a perfect way, but dedicating it in the service of Krishna is a wonderful thing. But if the goal of that is just, liberation, then, or just attaining Vaikuntha, Lord Chaitanya wanted them to experience the nectar of pure devotion, and that is, tasting the mellows of love of Krishna, which is a more higher thing. So but no one can enter that without the first process of hearing and chanting the holy name. None of us, even all of us, if we may think that we can jump and go into the, the more higher, deeper mellows of bhakti, or jump to prema directly, it's not possible. There is a, process of bhakti, how we can progress gradually. Adav Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sang, Tatha Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. Then there comes Ruchi, Nishtha, Bhava, and then Prema. These are all stages. We cannot directly jump. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just opening the gates of bhakti to them, making them understand, taking them one step higher, that the path to this attaining prema, love of God, that is the highest goal, is through hearing and chanting. So he is saying and emphasizing to them that according to the verdict of all the Shastras, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service. So he was trying to establish the Harinam Sankirtan movement, making them understand that for the age of Kali Yuga, only the holy name, only the Harinam Sankirtan can, help you to attain the goal of life. Otherwise, in this age of Kali Yuga, as it was progressing, today we can see where is the varna and ashrama. Is anybody following the varnas and ashramas perfectly? Is anybody able to follow brahmacharya or sannyas properly according to what the standards are? So in this age, probably Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that there's nothing going to be, easy to practice Krishna Bhakti. And the most easiest method is the chanting and of the holy names, chanting and hearing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with this mission to establish that. So that's why he said that to them. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.